What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turn on the Jets Live. I'm your host, Steven Zantz, joined by my co-host, Steven Russo. It's a draft recap, and boy, was it a fun draft. Steven, how you feeling? How you living? It was a great weekend.
I mean, how could you not be pumped after that, right? Like, it's honestly, I just feel like everything broke the way that as good as it could have, and the way that it ended up. I think we probably feel as good as we have since the 2000 draft when Parcells took 4 first rounders and then just added Lavernius Coles on top of that in the third round. But I feel like overall they went all in. We continue to say that it's really hard to continue to build draft capital and do all these things and pick 10 11 guys every draft. Like, that is really hard to maintain. That's really hard to do. And ultimately you get all those chips for moves like this, and I felt like they were aggressive, and they were aggressive when it needed to be, when the board broke the way that it did and the way that it should for them. So it was really good to see them capitalize on it. I don't know how you can come out of this as a Jets fan and not feel good about the trajectory of this team and how Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh played this, and what they did, kind of pushing their chips to the middle to say, listen, we're gonna go all in for this and put everything around Zach and not make the same mistake twice. So I feel really good. I think all Jets fans do, but you tell me your thoughts, man. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think I've spoken to anyone who likes the team or follows the team that isn't happy about what happened. I mean, the first 5 picks were just like absolute money, and like I couldn't have been happier with all of them because I wanted a guy like Garrett Wilson. I know, like last week, I mentioned how I kind of flipped to Drake London, but Garrett Wilson was my number one guy for a while, and I recently flipped, but I'm still happy with the pick. I mean, I never really thought that Sauce was a realistic guy that we would take, but I'm all in on him now because, we needed that lockdown corner, and he could be super fun. He's got the personality, he's got the swagger, plus he's got the skills and, the tape to back it up. I mean, Jermaine, I never was like the biggest fan of, but I know we needed an edge rusher, but like, it's just crazy. And then day 2, you get Breece and you get Rucker, 2 guys. I always would talk about Breece. I'm always like, I feel like he's somebody that would be interesting. I just don't know if they would use that high of a pick on him because I knew he'd probably go the beginning of the second round. Rucker, I feel like we've been talking about basically since before, they even signed Uzama and and Conklin. But like, it was amazing. I just feel like everything worked out for us. Obviously it's all on paper. It doesn't necessarily mean anything until these guys actually hit the field. But I mean, it was as good as the first 5 picks as I've seen as a Jets fan, really, and probably since 2006. 2006 was like the last like really good draft the Jets had from top to bottom, because you had Brick, you had Mangold, you had Brad Smith, you had Leon Washington. I don't think Jericho Cotchery was in that draft, but he was a couple years before. But man, it was just awesome. Yeah. I kind of was just like blown away, and like obviously, as you know, I was sick over the weekend, so it was tough. But man, that made me so much happier than I could possibly be in that situation. But I'm going to turn to you. Who was your favorite pick of the bunch? I mean, like I said, all 5, the first 5 were amazing. We'll talk about the other 2 who I didn't really care as much because after the first 5 was great. Yeah. Who was your favorite?
It's going to seem like I'm kind of going chalk here. I got a feeling as to where you're going to go, but honestly, I'm going to say Garrett Wilson. I think the Sauce pick caught me off guard. I really didn't think they were going to go corner that high. Knowing what I know now and getting that kind of 10,000 foot view, I do like the Sauce pick. But honestly, my favorite pick of the night of the whole draft was Garrett Wilson. It's who I wanted from the start. He was the highest floor guy. I think he fits extremely well in this offense. And I just love that they recognized, and it's almost like they're like Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are like hearing the fans, which seems crazy. But then when you break it down, it's like, we're really not saying that much that's crazy. We're kind of just saying like, put your capital and your assets into, players at premium positions, which they're listening to, and basically don't be McCagnon. And he's done that. So he's learned. He made a mistake with Sam Darnold and didn't surround him with talent. He's saying, I'm not going to make that mistake again. Garrett Wilson was there at 10, the Debo trade. He made an offer, which I feel like I would have been happy either way. I'm happy with how it broke and how everything went, and the fact that we ended up with Garrett Wilson at 10 and didn't get Debo. If that offer that we made to San Francisco went through and we got Debo, I would have been happy. But now I'm good, kind of saving the 20 mil a year or whatever it is. But ultimately, I'm just glad that we took a premium talent at wide receiver at number 10, because there was still a part of me that was scared they would wait until round 2 or later to try to do that. So I'm just glad They went in and got Garrett Wilson here. And I think for Jets fans, for me, if you objectively look at this, you can honestly say that Corey Davis is probably our third best option at wide receiver. And that's a pretty good place to be. Corey Davis for a down year last year. Okay. But he had a few games and, a few highlights in some spots, which was great. But I think he's due for a bounce back year. But to say that Corey Davis is your third option at wide receiver, I think is a really, really good spot to be in. It's something that we haven't had in a long time. So Garrett Wilson, my favorite pick of the night, or of the entire draft. How about you?
Yeah. Mine's not Garrett Wilson, even though I love the pick too. It's actually Brees. And I could have guessed heard all the arguments. What?
I said I could have guessed it. I just had a feeling you were going that way.
I think there's obviously been a lot of discourse, mainly from the PFF guys. I know PFF George is like Jets Twitter number one enemy right now. But like for me, the Jets haven't had, this workhorse running back that we had for years. Really, I mean, I guess you could consider Thomas Jones, guest of the show, but he really was only on the team for 3 years. Like Curtis is really like the last like workhorse guy, like superstar running back that Jets had for like several seasons in a row. It was like an awesome Jet. I mean, obviously there's guys like Chris Ivory had some fun years, specifically 2015. They had the LT Sean Green backfill in 2010, which was awesome. But like, it's just, we haven't had that guy. There's been so many different guys just being rotated in there. And I know that this system is predicated on multiple running backs, which is why we were talking about before the draft, they should take a running back because Michael Carter is awesome. We love him. Like no bad things I could say about him. But as Connor has said, and I've agreed with him 100%, he's too small to be an every down back. He's perfect in the 1B role. He's a great receiver. He runs hard. He's quick. But Brees is the guy that this team has lacked. This is a running scheme. It's going to make the quarterback's life easier when you have a guy like Brees who can get you 100 yards a game or hover around 100 yards. And he's also just, he could get a 75-yard run like that. He's a 4.3 speed. It's everything that this offense has been lacking for years of just having that true bell cow. So I'm super excited about him. He was the number one running back on most people's boards. I know some people like Kenneth Walker better, but most of the people in the draft industry love Brees Hall, and I've watched him a ton while I was at Iowa State, being a West Virginia fan. So I've seen him play, and he's everything. He can catch. He's quick. It's just this is something that we haven't had. We've had just so many retread running backs, or just guys who are like average at best. Like the Elijah McGuires of the world and old Matt Forte. But now we have a young running back turning 21 later this month. I'm super excited about Brees. I think he actually is probably going to be the best Jets rookie next year. I actually believe that, just because of opportunity and also just his talent.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the same argument that I just made for Corey Davis being the third best option is exactly what you say here. Michael Carter was lauded. I mean, for the Jets to get him in the fourth round, for him to do what he did in his rookie season is great. And no one's saying Michael Carter is a bad running back. They're saying he's actually, very good. So to have him as your number two guy is not a bad thing. And to your point, a guy that you get that's 20 years old with size, speed, pass blocking ability, catching, receiving ability, and can obviously is a game breaker that scored in 24 straight games. I mean, you can't deny that ability there. And the fact that the Jets have playmakers on offense now, it's crazy. And I for anyone that doubts that, I don't know how you could see this draft going differently than what they did and getting what they got in the spots that they did. I mean, the board broke kind of perfectly for them. So for them to be aggressive and move up a couple of spots in the second round to get Brees Hall, who is unquestionably the best back in this draft, I have no problem with it, especially knowing, as Jets fans, what we've been through and what we've seen from this offense, year in, year out. I agree with you, man. Brees Hall is a great pick. And I think he's probably odds-on favorite for Jets rookies to make an immediate impact and be, a very big contributor in year one.
Yeah, I mean, I think their first four picks, I think, are all going to start. I mean, it's like without question. I mean, Ruckert, I think, is a long-term starter, at least with his upside. But given the fact the Jets, spent money on both Uzama and Conklin, he's probably more developmental this year. But if there's an injury, he's definitely going to play, and I'm super excited about him because as people have been saying, there's been a lot of meat left on the bone from his skill set from a receiving standpoint, because he was playing with a guy like Garrett Wilson, he was playing with Chris Olave, and also Jackson Smith. I can't say his hyphen part of his name,